The experiences during the drought have really helped us resolve to get ahead of the situation before it arises. Belmont is only about 25-30 kilometres northwest of Broken Hill, and it's 120,000 acres, which is probably about average to the size of places around here that you would class as a living area. Probably 100,000 acres in this sort of land type is a good amount to be able to make an income off. Any less and you're probably struggling, and any more you're doing well. The type of land that Belmont's made up of is approximately 30,000 acres of the largest, roughest hills in the Barrier Ranges. Doesn't grow a whole lot of really palatable soft feed like winter, herbages and good perennial grasses. But the other 90,000 acres of Belmont is a sort of clay alluvial floodplain. So there's a fair sort of difference between the higher, lighter sort of bush country on Belmont and the flood out country, and then the hills country. It all requires different management, and it's used for different purposes on the place as well. The way I approach grazing of the property has been moulded basically from the 7 years of drought we had from 2001. Over that sort of 7 or 8 year period, we tried to hold on to core breeders, and just about every year out of those years we were on agistment somewhere. We took agistment in Ivanhoe, Brewarrina, the Eyre Peninsula, around Tibooburra, around north of Broken Hill, when someone would get a rain and have feed and need some extra income. So it was a bit of a juggling act. And in the 2002 drought, we also tried hand feeding to keep stock alive. Basically, hand feeding stock in a paddock during drought is, from what I've seen, disastrous, because the stock, you give them enough energy with a bit of hay or a bit of grain to walk right out a long way from where you're feeding them and forage what available ground cover's left, which isn't of any value to the stock. It's only of value to the poor plant that's trying to stay alive in the drought. So it's a double negative feeding out in open paddocks. From seeing that, the idea of the saltbush was to create a reserve fodder source. At the same time, I saw that areas where you had large perennial plants were holding the soil together as well. So the saltbush plantation has been put in one of the most sort of wind and water degraded areas of the property to catch soil and catch seed and that sort of thing, but also it can be used as a drought fodder source as well. Generally, you're going to a drought, everyone goes into it, and everyone wants to sell their stock at the same time, and then you come out of the drought and everyone wants to buy their stock at the same time. So the biggest challenge is to try and take those waves out, and certainly keeping some sort of fodder in reserve gives you that extra ability to hold on for a bit longer, and keeping fodder in reserve gives you that ability to buy when the price is right as well. So the little extra things that you can do to give you that bit of an edge and a bit more control over your management is what makes the difference between someone who goes well and someone who goes broke. I mean, it wasn't a 7 year period where you didn't get rain. We had drought-breaking rains, but they only broke the drought for a short period. It was only band-aid type rains, and you'd get a lot of annuals grow, but within 3 months of no rain, you were left with nothing again. So it was obvious that without a good perennial base, you're living on the edge all the time, waiting for the next dry period. So when you asked earlier about drought-proofing a property, and I said you can't do it, I don't think you can do it, but you can certainly dry-proof, like dry time proof a property, so that you've got the ability to ride a dry time. In 2002, I don't know how many truckloads of hay we bought, how many tons of grain we fed out, and you do it in a heartbeat because you work it out, dollars per head for stock, what they're worth, and you know, it all seems quite reasonable. But if you put it in perspective, the saltbush plantation I did, the actual cost of the seedlings to put them in was equivalent to about 1 truckload of hay. Now it's 15,000, which they're now, you know, metre high bushes that, you know, have got the, you know, enough fodder there for 500 sheep for 2 months. That will be there this year, it'll be there next year, it might be there for 50 years. There's no comparison in the price of putting in that you know, those seedlings, which have now grown into big bushes, and when you compare it to buying truckloads of hay. You know, it's taken a bit of work, but if you do the work when times are good, when things are, you know, going along quite well, it should save us money and make things a whole lot easier further down the track, because there's nothing surer than we will be in another drought again. I don't know when, but there's nothing surer than that.